We're moving on to adding and subtracting fractions, which is obviously after we did multiplying and dividing fractions. Except this concept is a lot harder. You have to remember that we have to have common denominators to add or subtract fractions. All right, so here we go, example 1. You've got this great rational expression here, and you have to say to yourself, I need a common denominator. Notice what my word is. Inspect the denominator. It means look at it. And inspect, well, we have to know that we inspect the denominator. We're in Algebra 2. It's going to involve, yes, that's right, factoring. So this is going to be x minus 3 and x minus 1. This one is going to be x plus 3 and x minus 1. So now we have to make the denominators the same. So we look at what one denominator has that the other one needs. We call this making soup. We're going to add a little of this, a little of that, until we get a great tasting soup. So in other words, x minus 3. This does not have an x minus 3. So we're going to add a little bit of x minus 3 to this side. But remember, we also have to multiply that to the top. X minus 1. This has an x minus 1. So right now we have an x minus 3 and an x minus 3. Awesome. We have an x minus 1 and an x minus 1. Double awesome. But look what we don't have. We have an x plus 3. This side needs an x plus 3. What we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So there, we made our soup. Our soup consists of an x minus 3, x minus 3, an x minus 1, x minus 1, an x plus 3, and x plus 3. Awesome. So what's next? Well, to make my life easy, I'm going to copy all this, and let's continue on the next page. So now the next step would be to multiply the numerators out. Please do this. I'm telling you right now what kids do wrong every single year. I'm telling you this so you don't make the same mistake. This is what kids do. You just got out of the canceling section, so kids start doing this canceling stuff. Oh, this x plus 3 can cancel with this x plus 3, and this x minus 3 can cancel with this x minus 3. And guess what? You just brought yourself back to the original problem. Do not do that. The next step is to multiply out the numerators. Yeah, that's what you got to learn. That's what we're trying to teach you. You can't make up math. This is the process. So I multiply out the numerators. X times x is x squared plus 3x. And this numerator here is x squared minus 3x. There's no need to multiply out the denominators. We didn't say that, so let's keep our soup as x minus 3, x minus 1, x plus 3. Now, the next step is we can combine like terms. We can add these together because they're finally like. But be careful. This is a subtraction sign. And you know that when you subtract, you have to add the opposite. That's another huge mistake. So when I go to combine like terms, I really have x squared plus 3x plus negative x squared plus 3x, because we combined like terms by adding the opposite. And on the bottom, we still have our big soup. Well, life is good because it's pretty up top. When we combine x squared and a negative x squared, they're going to cancel out. So we're left with 6x on the top, 3x plus 3x. And then on the bottom, we're left with x minus 3, x minus 1, and x plus 3. Now, since this is a fraction, we need to reduce all our fractions. Now, that goes back to lesson 1. Is there any factoring of the numerator and factoring of the denominator that will allow us to cancel? No, it's reduced. Now, I wholeheartedly encourage you to use Mathway to check your answer. Mathway is a great tool. So where is it? I have it up here somewhere. I guess I don't. So let's go over to here. And see, you can just type it all in, and there's your answer. Use it. It'll help you a lot. All right, example 2. We want to inspect the denominator. We know they have to be alike. Factor to get a closer look. Well, I can't factor here. There's nothing to factor. But you know we must make the denominators the same. So what I'm going to do to this problem is, remember, I can multiply by a negative 1. Now it doesn't matter which one you multiply by a negative 1. So if I were to multiply this top and bottom by a negative 1, because I'm really not changing anything because I'm multiplying by 1, I get negative 3. X times a negative 1 is negative x. Negative 4 times negative 1 is a positive 4. There, I've made the denominators the same. Now I can combine and get negative 1 over 4 minus x. Now, some of you may have chose to multiply the first by a negative 1. So you get negative 2. Negative 1 times 4 is a negative 4. Negative 1 times negative x is x minus 4. Now that I have like terms, like denominators, I can combine the terms together, and I'll get 1 over x minus 4. This and this are mathematically equivalent. Both are the same answers. If I factored out a negative 1, and I factored out a negative 1 on the bottom, and then I cross off the negative 1, see, I get the same answer. All right, let's go for a little harder one. Same thing. My brain has to say, I am subtracting fractions, and I've known since 3rd grade that to subtract fractions I need common denominators. All right, let's look at these denominators here. This, when factored, is x minus 1 and x plus 1. I'm going to look at this bottom one. I'm going to factor it. X plus 2, x minus 1. Okay, let's make soup. This denominator has an x plus 1. Does this denominator have an x plus 1? No, so we got to add an x plus 1 to our soup. Spice it up. What you add to the bottom, you got to add to the top. Now this one has an x minus 1. Yay, that one has an x minus 1. Woohoo! But wait a second. There's an x plus 2 over here. So that means I have to multiply by an x plus 2 over here. And that means the top has to get multiplied by an x plus 2. So we've got a big mess going on here. Next step. Multiply out the numerators. All right, so 1 by 1. If I have to rewrite this for you to make it look pretty. All right, so this first numerator becomes x squared plus 2x. The second numerator is 2x squared plus 2x. Yes, there's a lot of writing here. There are some shortcuts you could take, but I'm not ready to show them to you yet. Careful. There's that minus sign. When we're minusing, we add the opposite of everybody after it. All right, so now let's combine some like terms here. X squared plus negative 2x squared gets me negative x squared. 2x plus a negative 2x, cancel out. And that leaves me with my common denominator. And there's my final answer. We can always go to Mathway and check this. We're going to type in the original problem, which was x over x squared minus 1. So I'm going to put in parentheses. Now I'm going to choose a fraction, x over x squared minus 1. Come on, over here. And I want to subtract from that, in parentheses, 2x x squared plus 2x, what was it? Keep forgetting. Oh, x minus 2. Whoops, delete. X minus 2. All right, so now it comes up here, simplify, or I can ask it to subtract. Answer? Just what I got. They just put the negative out front. Last example. Well, let's make you happy and put that over 1. Well, I have to have a common denominator because I'm subtracting. So that means this needs to be multiplied by 5w, which means the top needs to be multiplied by 5w. 5w squared over 5w minus 2 over 5w. 5w squared minus 2 over 5w. Well, there's a shorter way to do that. Let's see if you can handle this. If I gave you the fraction 2 and 2/3 and asked you to write that as an improper fraction, that's really 2 plus 2/3. So remember how you multiplied? 3 times 2 is 6, and then you added 2 more to get 8 over 3. Well, I'm doing the same thing here. I'm saying w minus 2 over 5w. This times this gets me 5w squared, and then I am minusing 2, and that's over 5w. All right, so here are your key points. Write these down, and these are your step-by-step to help you practice adding and subtracting fractions.